Hey crew, I've got the key to this 25 Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing. We are going to take it for a drive both on the road and here at Atlanta Motorsports Racetrack. But first, let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. Now, if you know my channel, you know that I had a 23 Blackwing, and so I know the differences between my car and this new model. Starting up at the front, there is a new grille insert. The lower fascia has been updated as well. It's got this extension arm here, and this color is new. It's called Typhoon. It's a green metallic, and it is a cloudy morning here, but when the sun hits it, it really pops. Headlight housings are completely different with these stacked projector LEDs, and that was one thing I missed in my 23. I had reflector LEDs, but I don't think that the design change was worth the upgrade to technology because I preferred how my 23 looked and that more subtle but still aggressive look. What do you guys think? Is this a better design or have they gone in the wrong direction? At the side, these are the same wheels I had on my car, these satin graphite in 19-inch, and you can choose also a 19-inch bronze wheel that's lighter or a two-tone finish. Those are wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. Now this is interesting because this car has the Precision package. It's an $18,000 package really suited to the track. And if you choose that package, one, you get the carbon ceramic brakes that are standard when normally they're like a $9,000 option. These have the blue painted calipers. But you also get the choice of a Cup 2 tire from Michelin, and that is a no-cost option. Stepping back to look at the profile, no changes here. With that carbon fiber 2 package, you get the carbon fiber sills, and this car still has that gentle taper to the roof line, sort of bridging the gap between four-door coupe and sedan. No complaints from me. Then with the 2 packages for carbon fiber, you have this extended rear spoiler, and then down low, the diffuser is all in carbon fiber. They kept the trapezoidal shape to the exhaust ports, which I know go with the shape of the diffuser, but I still think that rounded exhaust ports would have looked better. What do you guys think? The back end, still handsome though. The whole car is just a great looking sports sedan. Let's check out the interior. Opening up and looking inside at this black on tan semi-aniline leather interior. That is an option, and I think the tan goes really well with the Typhoon green. And now that I'm looking at it, maybe the bronze wheels with the green would have been a great combo as well. Here on the doors, we've got leather up top, then this gloss carbon fiber for the insert, suede below that, more leather. The bottom of the door panel is in hard plastic. There is an AKG 15 or 16 speaker sound system in this car. It's a great sound system. Stepping in, do have to duck my head, but that's not too bad. What is bad though, I remember this from my car, is the headroom. So if you're taller, I'm 6 feet tall, my head is pressed against the roof. I can't make it back to the headrest, so that means I've got to slink forward and I lose out on some lumbar support. Behind this seating position, which is about where I'd have it for myself, I do have some knee room here, and this one has the optional carbon buckets, which is some visual artistry for rear passengers, but you don't get map pockets. You also just get one USB-C port and a DC outlet. There are air vents, but no third zone of climate control, and that feels out of place on a car costing about $100,000. If you did want to sit in the middle seat, you got to make it over that drive shaft hump, and then the seat is raised up even more, so this is more uncomfortable. And then you'd also be sharing the footwell space with your 2 passengers. So most likely, you'll just have 2 adults, and in that case, there would be an armrest that comes down with leather padding and 2 cup holders. Let's check out the front next. Door close noise is such a good solid thud. I missed that. And there is smart keyless entry for the front 2 doors, not all 4 doors, and this little glowing bar is illumination at night. Opening up that door, checking out these front seats. They have a fixed bolster position. It does hug you in place. You've got these pass-throughs for a racing harness to go, and there's a thigh extender here, lots of power adjustments, including 4-way lumbar. This V sill plate here, which also illuminates. You've got aluminum plating on those foot pedals, 2 positions of memory for the driver's seat, power adjusting and power folding door mirrors. This is the trunk release, and I'm reminded already of the small opening to this trunk. We've got some stuff in the back. It is not a large trunk either, 13 cubic feet, and the pass-through is sort of a little window. It's not the full area, so I think the trunk capacity could be improved. That still hasn't been for 25. Slotting into the cabin. So far, back seats have looked the same as 23 and 24. Front seats have looked the same. But what is new for 25? Well, just take a look at this screen and let me turn on the car to show you. It's a 33-inch display, and it is separated in driver cockpit, digital gauge cluster, and then the infotainment, but it's not nearly as separated as it used to be for my car in 23, where you had the sort of housing around the gauge cluster, and then you had the tablet display for your passengers. And I found that I really loved that. I didn't so much love the refresh rate. The graphics were good, but it kind of was just a little slow with how it changed things up. This new screen is so much faster, and there's so much more that you can do with it, but it now kind of just brings the rest of the cabin into the experience. And I thought, oh God, that's gonna give up the driver focus. But really, what they've been able to do with all the different displays and graphics still helps it feel very immersive as the driver, while also just upgrading the technology. So for one, in the infotainment, of course, it's got your maps, it's got all that data, but you also have this V performance screen, which brings up some important gauges for you. You can customize this area, show the power and torque output in live, and it's just a really cool visual. It's one thing that I felt was completely missing in my 23 car, so it's nice to see that. And also for the gauge cluster, you've got so many different options here. You've got the Tour, Look, Sport, and Track with your TAC there and all the telemetry data underneath that. And then if you're driving around town, you'd have the map take over the whole screen. You've got an updated head-up display, and this one with the Super Cruise function, leather-wrapped steering wheel, and this light bar to show you the different stages of Super Cruise. You can also get the wheel wrapped in suede along with your, well, gear selector if you've got the 6-speed manual. This car has the 10-speed automatic with this frankly cheapy plastic. You do have a wireless charging pad here, your drive mode selection, some gloss carbon fiber underneath this lid, 2 cup holders, and again, a little bit of a cheapy dial to control the infotainment if you don't want to touch the screen. I'm glad there is a volume knob and some hotkeys as well. I'm also glad that even though they updated the graphics for the climate control, it's actually easier to read now, they kept all the physical buttons. So while you're driving, you're not distracted looking around in the infotainment screen to try to adjust the temperature or fan speed. That is one thing this car's competitors do, and this one doesn't. I'm thankful for that. Now back here under the leather topped console, we've got a decent bit of storage space and 2 USB ports, 1A, 1C, plus a DC outlet, and another spot to just slot in your phone. They didn't change the door mirrors at all, so they're still on the smaller side. They still look very cool though. They do have blind spot monitoring, which does help out because there is a blind spot at the seat pillar there, and that's one reason why you might want to get the optional digital rear view. So if you have rear passengers, they're not going to be obscuring your view out the back, which did happen to me a few times in my 23. So overall, the interior isn't a massive departure, but for drivers and passengers with this new screen, it does feel more modern, it does feel fresher. Now let's take the Blackwing for a drive on the road. All right, let's fire it up again. The supercharged V8 has come to life. Hello, cabin crew. Thanks for joining for this first drive in the 25 Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing. I'm joined by Joel Fetter, who will be amusing himself during our brief drive in this precision package automatic equipped Blackwing. And I've known Joel for a long time. We were just
10 years.
10 years.
Long time.
It's been a minute. So here we go. Into drive. And I'm going to crank the wheel and head on out of here. Turn signal sound. Not a big deal. What about the horn? Not as sensitive as my car. I do love that. And it's just a traditional car horn sound. All right, powertrain in the V Blackwing. 6.2 liter supercharged V8 makes 668 horsepower, 659 pound-feet of torque. Nothing has changed from 23 or 24 to 25 in the powertrain department. And you have your choice, as I mentioned, 10-speed automatic as we have here, or the 6-speed manual. And so what I'm looking for with this precision package equipped car is if all the changes they made to front steering knuckle, rear toe lengths, spring rates, the tuning of the magnetic ride control, the track alignment that they have on this car make any sort of difference to how it drives on the road. Whether the changes that they've made to improve on-track performance have come at the cost of on-road compliance. And so far, I mean, this has been a relatively smooth road surface. It just is very easy to drive, as I came to know and love with my 23 Blackwing. For reference, we are in the tour drive mode right now, so that's going to be as plush riding as this vehicle gets. Moving into sport, as I've done now, perks up the throttle response. Hear more from the V8. Oh, and speaking of drive mode adjustments, one thing I forgot to mention during the interior portion is that they got rid of the PTM dial that was on the wheel. And I feel like that's a miss, because that dial made it, one, look much cooler, like you could do on-the-fly adjustments like a racing driver, but also it allowed you to keep your hands on the wheel and make the adjustments to PTM. Now I have to hit the V mode button twice, then that brings up the PTM menu, then I go back down here to the mode adjustment to switch through dry, wet, sport, race 1 and race 2. It just is another step that you didn't have to take with the pre-refreshed car. All right, I'm now in V mode and in sport, and I'm going to get on it just a little bit. Reminder, this car does have the carbon ceramics, no squealing, just great stopping power. Love the pickup coming out of a curve. They did make some tweaks to the ELSD. Nothing I'm really noticing so far here on the road. It's just that same tightness, smoothness, controllability, lovely noises, and the ELSD is just magic. Gets the power down to the rear tires so effectively. You know, I do feel like the steering has more feel here on the road. The edges are a bit better defined than in my car. There was some softness with my car on the fringes that wasn't my favorite. And here feels a bit more tactile. I do like that. What a beautiful road too. Not knowing it super well, I'm not gonna race through it, but change of the fall colors, blasting through with American V8. It's a great combo. Such a good chassis. I can't wait to get this car on track. All right, so on the right road, there are some changes you will notice. And this is on the PS4S tires. Now, if you option on the cups from the factory, again, no cost, that would obviously be a massive difference. But because they have tuned this vehicle to run on both the PS4s and the cups, they're expecting that customers will have either option. They want to still bring you the same level of feel and enjoyment, whether you got the cups or not. And I think for our cars, they gave us the PS4S tires because the cup difference in grip would be so overwhelming that we wouldn't be able to feel out the changes to the precision package without the cups. Now we're going to swap into a non-precision package car and see what that's like. All right, I've swapped now into a non-precision package car, still with the 10-speed automatic. I'm gonna see if I can feel out the differences, and I'm gonna do a full turning circle just so you can see what I was talking about. It is such a wide sweep to actually get all the way around. It's so bad. They've got to fix that. Oh, and I do want to address something before I forget. I mentioned there wasn't the PTM dial on this 25 model year Blackwing, and that's actually only the situation for the automatic equipped car because Super Cruise is now standard with the auto. If you get the manual, you will still have the PTM dial, and that's the way I would go about it. Not only because the Tremec 6-speed is so good. Now I've moved into the track drive mode, and I'm gonna see if I feel any noticeable changes without the precision package tuning. This one doesn't have the carbon ceramics, and I do notice that I'm putting my foot deeper into the pedal to slow us down. It doesn't have that same bite. Yeah, the way the steering is loading up. It's the very fringes that are just not talking to me in the same way. All right, but a small taste, and yet it tells me what I need to know. The car, with or without precision package, is going to feel like the same great, compliant, on-road Blackwing that I knew and loved. Now, it's time to see how the precision package car does on the racetrack. All right, we're headed out here on Atlanta Motorsports track with some lead follow. I've got the manual transmission version of the Blackwing. This does have the precision package. And we're on the Cup 2R tires. Now, these tires do take a while to warm up, and I have to familiarize myself with this track. I've driven it once before, but it has been a while, and it does have some tricky corners. And we've got everything set to maximum aggression in track modes. The PTM is set to sport, so it's going to allow some play. You know, one thing I didn't remark about on the road, but I remember from my Blackwing was how much V8 grunt you have, but how little supercharger whine you hear from inside the car. Outside the car, that's a different story. Outside you hear a lot of whine, but I wish a little of that, maybe with an intake, was brought into the cabin. I love this platform, it is so balanced. And the motor is so eager. We do have the rev match function turned on to start, so the things I noticed on the road about the additional steering feel have translated here on the track to just be greater confidence. Because with the actual grip you're getting from the Cup 2s, I have the feeling more clearly through the wheel. All right, here for my first solo laps, they actually swapped me into a 10-speed automatic, non-precision package version of the Blackwing. So here I'm really gonna be able to tell whether that precision package makes all that much of a difference on the track, while not necessarily focusing so much on the manual transmission and my shift points. This car does still have the carbon ceramic brakes, so I'm still getting that nice bite. Yeah, I feel like the grip is losing earlier here for sure with the PS4S tires. Little more body roll as well. That back end definitely came loose where the Cup 2s were not. And the steering, the turn-in is not as sharp. That track alignment and the track camber with a precision package making a difference there. Track in and track out both feel different in this car. And I don't think it just comes down to the tires, because if you just slapped a set of Cup 2Rs on a non-precision package Blackwing, yes, it will increase the grip, but the rest of the components have to match. You've got to have the ability to put the power down and the calibration of the traction control and the ELSD to match. It's still good, don't get me wrong. Still an absolutely incredible car to drive. But man, the precision package changes really shine through when you start to push the car on track. I do like the sport version, or the sport setting for the PTM. It lets me have some fun. But I just can't go on throttle nearly as early. Okay, I'm back in a precision pack manual, and I'm gonna get on it a little harder. 131.84. That's the best I can do with the amount of time I've had on the track, and now it's time to catch my shuttle to the airport.